Are you ready?
I said, are you ready?
Yeah! Yes! Woo!
What's going on, everybody? For WrestleTrivia, I'm your host, Kevin J. Callis.
Yeah.
And you're watching episode 72 of Wrestling Jeopardy, so come on down. This is the ultimate interactive game show where you're the contestant.
I never seen that shit. Oh my God.
So without further ado, let's go to the board now and check out the categories that you're going to be quizzed on, starting with Attitude Era pay-per-views, followed by the Samoan Dynasty. Our third category is Name That Tag Team. Our fourth category, Twitter Beefs. And our fifth and final category, as voted on by you, the WrestleTrivia community. There were three match types that you basically had to choose from. The first was debut matches, the second was hair versus hair matches, and the third, retirement matches. Now, I was kind of hoping for hair versus hair matches just because I love that picture of Kurt Angle, but a whopping 2/3 of you voted for debut matches to be the fifth and final category.
Look at the size of that ham hock!
And that's how it means it's time for the 200-point jobber round. Like I always say, it's the easiest round in Wrestling Jeopardy.
Because I am what I say I am, and that's perfect.
So let's kick things off with the first of 25 clues. The category is Attitude Era pay-per-views. The Montreal Screwjob made this 1997 pay-per-view one to remember. What is the Survivor Series? We're on to the Samoan Dynasty now for two. With his victory over Gunther to kick off night one of WrestleMania 41, this superstar became the fourth male Samoan to hold the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The other three were Yokozuna, The Rock, and Roman Reigns, and the Yeet Master Jey Uso became the fourth in 2025. All right, here comes the first clue from Name That Tag Team, Axe and Smash. And that would be, who is Demolition? All right, time to jump into a little bit of social media toxicity. Here comes the first clue from Twitter Beefs, worth 200 points. Things got real personal on social media between these two wrestlers, as a lot of their issues boiled down to the use of the man nickname. I mean, really, can't we all just get along, right?
That was f***ed up.
The correct answer, who is Becky Lynch and the Nature Boy, Ric Flair? And let's finish up the 200-point round now with the first clue from Debut Matches. Slated to compete in his first ECW match against the Tasmaniac in 1993, this Arabian athlete was led to the ring by 911 while chained to a gurney and wearing a Hannibal Lecter mask. And that would be the wild man from Bombay, Michigan, who is the late Sabu. Now, usually during this part of the show, I read a comment from one of you. However, I'm switching things up a little bit this week. I want to recognize two other content creators out there, Ant-Man and Mr. Scott, who've been crushing their Wrestling Jeopardy reaction videos recently. Appreciate you guys spreading the word about WrestleTrivia. Now, everybody else who's watching this, make sure you check out these two.
Do you want to continue? And I say yes.
All right, let's jump back across the board now and kick off the 400-point round with the second clue from Attitude Era pay-per-views. Cactus Jack and Triple H stole the show in a New York City street fight at this 2000 pay-per-view. What is the Royal Rumble? All right, let's brush up on some more Samoan Dynasty history. This clue worth 400 points. Umaga was the brother of Rikishi, who made his WWE debut in the early 1990s under the ring name of Fatu, and teamed up with his cousin Samu to form the Head Shrinkers, a savage duo cut from the same cloth as these two uncles, who were better known as the Wild Samoans. I just took you all over the place. I mean, we were climbing and touching every single branch practically on the Anuai family tree. However, the correct answer, who were Afa and Sika? Speaking of tag teams, we're moving on to name that tag team now. Worth 400 points, Jacques and Pierre. No, they're not the Mounties, they were the Quebecers. And the fourth clue of the 400-point round comes from Twitter beefs. In 2018, Cody Rhodes buried this former wrestler, tweeting, "You have drawn $0." A mic drop if I've ever seen one, as Cody absolutely destroyed the Disco Inferno. And we're closing out the 400-point round now with the second clue from debut matches. A 6-man ladder match to crown the inaugural NXT North American Champion took place at TakeOver New Orleans in 2018 and featured Adam Cole winning over EC3, Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, the Velveteen Dream, and this debuting superstar. He's bald and he loves to do all those flippy flippies. Who is Ricochet?
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
All right, 10 questions down, 15 to go, plus the daily double, a bonus question, and final Jeopardy.
It's the most wonderful feeling.
We begin the 600-point round now with the third clue from Attitude Era pay-per-views. The Road Dogg and X-Pac battled Billy Gunn and Chyna for the trademark naming rights to DX at this 1999 pay-per-view. What is Fully Loaded? All right, hopefully this next clue isn't as long and winding as the 400-point clue from this category. Jacob Fatu is the son of Sam Fatu, aka Tama, who alongside Haku formed this 1980s WWE tag team. Managed for a short time by Bobby the Brain Heenan and famous for dog napping the British Bulldogs, Matilda, who were the Islanders. And we've just about reached the halfway point of the game, but first we have a bonus question that if you answer correctly, you will double your score. Making his WWE debut in late 1983, Tama was originally named the Tonga Kid and billed as the cousin of this wrestler. No, it wasn't anybody from the Isle of Samoa, rather the Fiji Islands. Who is the Superfly? Jimmy Snuka. Here comes the third clue from Name That Tag Team, worth 600 points. Rex and Spot. And these two were known as the Moondogs. We're moving on to more Twitter beefs. This one worth 600 points. And it's courtesy of longtime WrestleTrivia channel member Ken Hill, who writes, following an infamous exchange with Randy Orton over his signature moves being stolen, this WWE Hall of Famer would later retract his statements claiming to have been hacked. I wonder if he was making this face when all this stuff went down. Anywho, the correct answer, who is Kurt Angle? Here comes the final clue of the 600-point round now, and it's from debut matches. On the March 16th, 1991 episode of WCW Saturday Night, this Canadian prodigy made his WCW debut. Now this marked the first of 5 televised matches that Owen Hart competed in. However, the youngest Hart was not willing to move himself and his family to the company's HQ in Atlanta, Georgia, so he instead signed with the WWE. All right, the difficulty is ramping up considerably now. We're on to Attitude Era pay-per-views for 800. Steve Austin and Triple H had a huge 3 Stages of Hell match at this 2001 pay-per-view. What is No Way Out? And we're moving on to another clue right now from the Samoan Dynasty. And we've reached the Daily Double. This is the part of the game where things change like that.
Don't be ashamed of those butterflies. Millions of people have felt those butterflies. It's anxiety.
The category, once again, the Samoan Dynasty. Place your wager now. All right, time is up. Here's this episode's Daily Double clue. This WWE Hall of Famer is credited with the idea to turn Rodney Anuai from a generic Samoan wrestler into a Japanese sumo champion named Yokozuna. Now, Yokozuna had been using the name Coquina Maximus, or just the Great Coquina. However, there were way too many Samoans at this point in time in the early 90s WWE, and it was suggested by none other than Sergeant Slaughter to turn Big Rodney into a Japanese sumo champion named Yokozuna. And we're on to the third clue of the 800-point round, and it's time once again for you to name that tag team. Who were Travis and Troy? You might be noticing a theme here throughout this category. They're all first names, and this might be one of the most WrestleCrap-tastic tag teams of them all. Travis and Troy were better known as Techno Team 2000. All right, here comes another clue from Twitter Beefs, worth 800. This NXT superstar went off on a tirade of tweets in 2025, taking shots at Ricochet and even calling AEW president Tony Khan a crackhead. Thankfully, this guy made the decision to delete those tweets, but once it's out there in the ether, sorry, people are taking screenshots, you're done for. The correct answer, who is Javon Evans? And here comes the final clue before the 1,000-point main event round. It's from debut matches. Batista made his WWE in-ring debut on SmackDown in June 2002, teaming with Reverend Devon versus Farouk and this superstar. I'm sure many of you possibly said Bradshaw, however it was Batista's future Evolution partner in crime, who is Randy Orton.
It's Batista.
All right, it's time. We've reached the most difficult round in wrestling, Jeopardy. It's the main event. 5 1,000-point questions guaranteed to put your wrestling knowledge to the test.
Wow.
And let's kick things off with the 1,000-point clue from Attitude Era pay-per-views. Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho had a beautifully wrestled match for the WCW title at this 2001 international event. Taking place from the UK, what is Rebellion? And we're on to the final clue from the Samoan Dynasty, worth 1,000 points. High Chief Peter Maivia played a hulking henchman in this 1967 James Bond film. Perhaps foreshadowing a silver screen legacy that would be carried on by his grandson.
Don't f***ing do that. You stop.
The legendary High Chief battled Sean Connery's Bond in You Only Live Twice. And we're on to the final clue from Name That Tag Team, Chad and James. These two Chippendale wannabes basically hung around for like a lap dance, and then they were gone during the Ruthless Aggression era. Who were the Dicks? All right, 2 clues left. Here's the final Twitter beef, worth 1,000. Will Ospreay and Vader's 2016 online spat led to this British independent promotion booking a match between the two. What is RevPro? And let's close out the board now with the final clue before Final Jeopardy. And we're sticking with more trivia about the Mastodon. Big Van Vader made his WCW debut at this 1990 pay-per-view against the Z-Man Tom Zenk. One of the coolest debuts ever, and it happened at the Great American Bash. All right, 26 clues are down, and only one separates you from becoming the ultimate WrestleTrivia champion. Let's find out what episode 72's final Jeopardy category is. Be kind, rewind. All right, time is up, and here is this episode's final Jeopardy clue. Which home video is credited as being the first VHS tape ever produced? Was it A, bloopers, bleeps, and body slams, B, Lords of the Ring, C, Ringmasters, or D, WrestleMania 1? Good luck. Hosted by Gordon Soley and featuring a no-holds-barred look at wrestling's greatest champions, most outrageous rule breakers, and most memorable matches, the correct answer is B, Lords of the Ring. And that does it for another episode of Wrestling Jeopardy. Thanks again so much for watching. My name is Kevin J. Callis, and I'll see you next time.